with me, Professor Yalman, from the TEDU radio studios at TED University. This is to reach out to those who have questions and want desperate answers. Why me? Because I've seen it all. I've seen it all in different aspects. I have been up, down, I was fired, I was hired, I was poor, I was rich. I fell in love, I lost my love, I became a kite surfer, I became a writer, I became a poet, I became a musician. I never stopped trying. At the end of the day, I never stopped trying. I never lost my hope. There was always a pinnacle in my life where the answers to those questions came. And if those answers are not coming by themselves, here's your chance to ask us. Ask us and I will answer them. As I say, life can get even or you can get a 7. So a 7 you can get much easier, not just believing in luck, but being persistently pursuing your path, which is your authentic path. Ask the questions. In and Out with Professor Yalman every week on Thursday with you. In and Out with Professor Yalman from TED University Ankara Studios, sponsored by Radio TEDU. I have very special guests today. I have Ece Dikmen on my left, and in front of me I have Selin Erbeş. We're going to be talking different things like truth, reality, conceptualizing things from within, and how we're shaping our own perceptions. But I want to capitalize on actually these sentences they have. I don't want to say full stop, but they coma'd in my class. It just said, never self-abandon yourself. And Selin said, never give up. I want to start with Ece. What do you mean with never self-abandon yourself? And how does that relate to a self-discovery within?
So, whenever we get on a project, a relationship, even building a new house, or maybe having a kid for some, or having family urgencies, my subjective experience is that I choose to help first and then get to myself. So how they say in the flights, parents have to put the oxygen mask on themselves and then the children, so that they could help the children if they're actually in need. So self-abandoning is the pattern I see mostly in women, but mostly in men as well, because man has to provide and the woman has to serve in the house or something. This is obviously a cultural generalization, but somehow we get into these roles. If we self-abandon, I think it might also come from culture and religion, that if we give away our own priorities, then we're a good person. This idea of being the good person only when you abandon the needs of yourself, not eating, not going to the toilet, not having a drink of water, or not walking, or not having your sports or anything, is the first way we do it. And in self-compassion classes, the main 3 rules is to get something when you're cold on your shoulders, and to drink water and go to the bathroom when you need to. And I see in most CEOs or most successful people that when they ignore this, they get a clap from the audience. So we as a society have promoted and endorsed self-abandoning. But this makes us become so deprived and so lost in the project that after we stop, we either become deprived. Tükenmişlik sendromu demeye çalışıyorum.
Tükenmiş is like burnout.
Burnout syndrome. So we either become burnout syndrome, or we get into a depression, of a character depression, because we don't have a constant ground in ourselves for our self-care, for our maybe like workouts, or for our education, or for our curiosities or hobbies. So these are the things we give up the most easily. So never self-abandon. Always feed your soul first and then feed others, so that you can continue on living a healthy and steady and well life.
That's a very good tip and good philosophy. But Selin also said never give up. And we had a question in class where they said, what if my path is the wrong way, and should I continue never giving up on that wrong way? And then you said something about something being not wrong, or something being wrong also being correct. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean with never give up, even if I am on something which is distractive or wrong, how do you identify, how do you define wrong then?
There's no wrong and right, I think. There is wrong, there is right, but it depends. So I try to say never give up, because sometimes, as I can see from my girls and from my friends, we decide to make a new project, or we decide to lose weight, or start doing yoga, sports, and sometimes we set like we will start like 5 days a week, and when we don't make 5 days a week, so we give up. So first of all, we have to set little hedefler, little goals that we can do. Then, even though if we can't make the little goals also, there's always a chance to start again, always from starting again. It's like, yes, the student asked me, and I always say, I never give up. Because life is like a heartbeat, and life goes on, like ups and downs, up and down. So every time we have a down, there's a chance, because life goes on, there's an up.
You say something in your Instagram account. You always say hadi, come on. Why do you like push yourself in the morning? Or what is that, a push, or is that a motivational thing? And is that something to do with actually setting the mood for the day? How important that is to sort of never giving up in that duration of esteemed things?
It is like it's hadi is for me also, because it seems like it's easy to do to go to sports every morning. Sometimes I want to sleep also, or sometimes I want to rest. But as I'm a type 1 diabetes, and I take care of my health, and every time I go to sports, every time it is sometimes difficult to wake up, sometimes. But every time I go, I feel good. So it's like 20 years, but it's the last 4 years I start to write hadi. And after I start writing hadi every morning, come on, people start to reply to my sports stories. So I saw that it inspired people, and that inspiration comes to me also. So I never give up.
Okay, so that helps in that path of not giving up. Ece, I want to ask you something. You're not, you're not as a profession, from profession onwards, you're not an educator, but you are, because you have decided to school yourself in a way. And in that process of discovery of your path, and you going further in life and becoming who you are, and inspiring your own self, as Selin is doing for herself, how would you elaborate on that path? Where was the need to sort of systemize your own schooling? Because not a lot of people do that. We go to school for certain things, but you selected the schools and the topics for you.
So here's how it started. I was as a kid, first grader, I questioned my teachers of asking how come they ask what they have a comment on what I do at the house, and I didn't get it, and I was an idealist. So whenever I was learning something at school, I would always question, like, I would always know that what I needed to do to graduate. So at first grade, I knew that I only needed to read and write, and that would be enough. And being able to see that from the start of the year, it made it really meaningless. So in the second grade, it's just like additions and subscriptions, and that's enough, and then the subtractions or whatever. So what happened is, seeing that the education system felt so helpless, because I didn't understand the world. I didn't understand why we live in a world with so much things going on about religion, politics, and all the other things. I didn't understand, like, why am I here? That this makes no sense. And it only also goes to my parents, which are from a different generation, who came to work, basically. Like, they would work, and they wouldn't have the time to feel or to understand, or they would read a lot, and they were really educated. But I see that the first thing was work.
Yeah.
So having that, I would also always feel like something's empty from the age of like 11, 12. And I asked to go to a psychiatrist or like a psychologist because we had the means to do so. So I went it, and I would always ask like, why are they people living this way? Why are we still talking about religion? It's a personal thing. Why are we so messed up with politics? Like, this is such a waste of time. Why don't we do something that actually matters and stuff? So not being able to understand, and also trying to understand the irregulated emotional states of grown-ups also made me think that I have to understand humans as a whole, and to understand it as a whole I needed to understand myself first. To do that, I went to the psychiatrist with no diagnosis for 10 years or even more. I also started searching for other means of learning about myself, using the Chinese or the Indian or the other ways of therapies that I could use, like family constellations. Like, I tried everything I could find in the market or like in the world, just to see my perception of it, not to buy anyone's comments on it, but just like, I want to experience this and then think about it. Going through all of these stages has made me understand different parts of the psyche that aren't told in schools. So my psychiatrist told me not to study psychology, just not to be going down by the tunnel of thinking of the Freudian psychology that Western education has created, which narrows down a lot of the parts of a lot of cultures which are not Western, and ignores a lot of the spiritual aspects of it or the religious aspects of it. So I've learned so much. I went to the School of Life in London, get real lessons. I read a lot of books, like listened to thousands of TED Talks at work, and went to neuroscience, psychology schools and stuff like that. And this has given me a toolbox, a really, really, really big tool factory. And I don't know what to do with it. And that caused me to teach, like that caused me to tell about it, because now I don't know what to do with it.
Well, that's going to come. Anyway, that's why we met. But I want to go back to Selin, because you studied fashion, and then you're doing these interior design things and events, etc. But then you schooled yourself as well. I mean, we're all three different generations, but we all went back to school somehow. We sort of schooled ourselves. And what was your schooling urge about? How did that happen?
It started with my girls again, because when my girls are grown-ups, and I start to face some problems that I have never seen in my life. I have never experienced in my life the feelings that I want to learn. So I start to search for the meaning of these feelings. So every time I studied some kind of spiritual, some things like that, I learned something new. That's my urge. That started, that pushed me so hard to understand myself.
So if one starts responding to an urge like that, it keeps coming, right?
Yes.
It never stops. How is that? Like, do they find you in a way? Like,
No. Because every time your frequency changes, it's like a radio. When you are listening the radio FM, the music on AM continues, but if you don't bring the radio to AM, you cannot listen to that music.
So you have to shift channels.
Yes. So every time you start to listen to a new radio, you understand that there is another radio. So when you start to resonate with that frequencies, then new people comes to your life. So they teach you something new, and then you take it and you continue, and it's like a way that you cannot go back.
Okay, you always talk about frequencies and vibration, and then you relate that to truth. How can one relate vibration and call it vibrating in your truest form or truest sense, or vibrating in reality? How can you relate truth and frequency or vibration interlinked?
It's like, everyone knows that when you are in your real, true, happy, loving self, there is a frequency that you cannot explain. And when you are stressed and lying, or you don't like yourself, most probably everyone knows the difference of the body frequency. So when you want to keep that, the loving frequency that makes you happy and more relaxed and aligned, so you want to find a way always to be in that frequency. So you start to you start to see the difference between when you are aligned and happy and when you are not happy and stressed and whatever. So I think everyone tries to find a way to find the one that they like.
So you allure you and you align. Ece, can you shift frequencies?
Yes.
We did this exercise with you the other day, and we were like,
We
you want to
did so
elaborate?
many
No, you want to
yeah.
elaborate on that? We were like writing down on pieces of paper things,
Yeah.
and then we stand on top of it as if we were like changing shifting the frequencies that we were in. Can you just
So how
talk
it
about
goes
that?
is that there's many ways to do it, and I think there's many ways in every religion to do it as well. But what we did was we took papers and we wrote what we wanted to feel in a new aspect of our lives that we wanted to change. So there could be like 10 aspects: works, like education, hobbies, your body, your wellness, your relationship. So we picked an aspect of our life and then we wrote in detail how we wanted to feel in that aspect. So let's say in a work, I want to feel successful, but for some, success might mean an X amount of money. For some, it could mean 10X's of amount of that money, or for some, it would mean awards and recognition by a community, or for some, it would mean being famous. So for everyone, it's different. So we only concentrate on how we wanted to feel, and we let the rest. For the rest, we surrendered, and we obviously took action plans. But what we did is we were feeling unhopeful, let's say, about our work, and we just had a project cancelled, so we wanted to shift that energy. So true
story, by the way.
Yes.
True story.
So what we did is we took paper and pen and we just like lit a candle just to like have an environment that we could have a more deep feeling. We started writing down how we wanted to feel, not explaining how that's going to happen. And then what we did is we put it on the ground. And we did a tiny little meditation, grounding ourselves in our bodies to see how we feel in our body. And then we took a step into the new reality, stepping on those papers. And then we closed our eyes and we imagined having all these feelings would feel in the body. So having your body change the feeling by commanding it is actually what we can do. So we could call it shifting realities, shifting frequencies, shifting energy, or we could just say shifting emotions. The only miracle the world needs right now is self-regulating adults. So we self-regulated from a desperate situation, not a desperate one, I'm exaggerating, but we self-regulated from an upsetting situation that we were going through at work. In 15 minutes, we were so up, hyped, excited, soulful.
And we were whirling like dervishes. But I want to get that last sentence, taking the adult part. Selin is a very big believer in imagination, as you are and as I am, and that's why we're taking personal innovation to K-12 right now, 2 different schools, and we are in the process of that. But then Selin said something the other day about adults. She said we have to reach out to mothers and fathers. How would you change that frequency if you were to reach out to mothers and fathers, which would also change the frequencies of their existing kids?
Of course. I don't know how, but I am dreaming. Today, in my story, I was dreaming these sentences during our flight. So there is going to be a way that we are also trying to evolve and change and self-aware. We are working on it. So as far as I work on it, I can see the difference on my kids and on my life and on everyone. So it's always my dream to share the things that I experience, which reflects my life in a good way. If there is a way, I have a chance to reflect to everyone, and they reflect to their kids and families and friends, and love spreads.
Somehow adult education is crucial then, you're saying, right?
Of course.
Of course, yeah. Especially in this perspective of changing frequencies, being more truthful, listening to your heart. When I say listening to your heart, what do you sort of envision?
Feel. I always tell, like, listening to your heart is really confusing and aloof, I think. So I always think about listening to our body makes me feel better. So what I do is just take a breath before making a decision and see how it feels in my body, so that I understand if there's any part of me resisting, scared, or confused, or I don't want it, or trying to set a boundary, it feels. So I think listening to your heart is a very, like, this... It's I don't connect with it as much.
Okay.
I wish I did, but not yet.
What about heartfulness? When I say heartfulness, the path of the heartfulness, how does that resonate with you?
Heartfulness.
Yes, the path of the heart, listening to your heart, heartfulness.
It comes with up and downs again, I think. You learn by experience.
You learn by experience, by asking certain things to your heart, and then your mind cannot answer, but your heart answers?
Yeah.
Or is there a duel between your mind and heart?
Yes, it's like, when you listen to your mind, I think it's always complicated, and it's very difficult to listen to your heart. It's really difficult to listen to your heart, and sometimes we have a chance to listen to our hearts. We are more brave to make that step, and every time we make a little step with our heart voice, so we can see the difference, and again it comes to the same pattern, that when you make something from your heart and when you make that step, that makes a different vibration in your body. And when you go with your mind, and when you are unhappy with the result, it always gives the answer. So you can understand the difference between your mind and your heart.
So
I will also take this further. My aunt worked at P&G for like 15 years, so she was a professional white collar, basically. They told them, for the first 10 years, you have to make sure every decision is correct, and you have to check every report or everything. But after 10 years, you just have to trust your heart or intuition, because then you already have the knowledge, and you would know just by knowing. So with enough information and education, not just going blindly with what my heart calls wherever, but with enough education, when we tune into our intuition, it's way easier to make a decision.
Well, this conversation came from many, many angles to my beloved sister's path. She calls her path Living in Heart. She's just about to bring out a new book co-written with her husband. Her husband is a heart surgeon, and she's a compassionate inquiry and yoga practitioner. And they wrote how they practice and live in their heart. And she always says this: the mind has many answers, but the heart has only one. So with that, I just want to thank you very much coming into the studio after the class. I know we're going to go to this other class again, but final words to the audiences who are listening to us from all around the world. We have listeners from Canada, US, India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Morocco, not just Turkey. So all these different students who have some connection to TED University or to myself from other universities, listen to this podcast. So I just want a couple of final sentences for you to sort of open up and just feel free to what to say, whatever comes into your heart and whatever comes to your body. Just elaborate on that and some final messages.
Learn everything you can, everything that calls you, but only trust the decisions that come from within you.
Okay.
I want to say, Hadi. Never, never, never give up.
Hadi, never, never, never give up. Arda, thank you very much for this nice studio setup for us today. In and Out with Professor Yalman, with Ece Dikmen and Selin Erbeş from TED University, Radio TED-U Ankara Studios. We'll be back with our next episode, and we will be hosting our rector in our next episode. And love to you all, and never give up. Hadi, 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 hadi.